Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the new podcast that examines iconic looks in film, television, music, and fashion history. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. My good friend Bobbie Thomas is on the show today. I'm really happy to have her. You probably know her from the Today Show, or maybe you have her book, Power of Style. If you don't, you should definitely pick it up. Today's show is sponsored. Yes, it's sponsored by Russell Stover's Joy Bites, which are delicious, by the way. And I accidentally or not accidentally ate a whole box of them all at once, and now they're gone. You need them in your house. They're delicious. Bobbie is the spokesperson for Joy Bites, and so I invited her to the show to come and talk about joy and finding joy. I'm sure many of you might know that Bobbie suffered a great loss. She tragically lost her husband last year and has been sort of moving through grief. I thought that this would be a great opportunity to come and talk about how she's doing that. And Bobbie's one of the most honest people that I know. She just tells it like it is. And so this is a very raw and unique conversation that we are having. I'm really excited to present it to you because I have a feeling that you're going to be able to identify and relate to many things that we talk about. It's really hard in the beauty industry to have any amount of sadness, and sometimes you feel a little bit guilty about finding joy in things. And so we talk about all of that. And we want to thank our sponsor, Joy Bites. So enjoy.
So why don't we bring another lovely lady into the mix, Miss Bobbie Thomas.
Right there with them on the red carpet, styles fashion expert, Bobbie Thomas.
We got style inside of Bobbie Thomas.
So I'm here with Bobbie Thomas, and I will tell you that Bobbie and I go way back, and I don't even know how far back we go, but we found each other through our dear friend Lauren, and I'm so lucky to have you in my life. And we've seen each other through so many different iterations of our lives. And
we've had hot single girl summers together, or however the kids say it.
Right.
We've had
hot girl
married
summer.
summers together.
Yes.
We've had very weepy girl holidays and summers together. We've done it all.
Yes. And, you know, what I love about you, Bobbie, is you always are very real, and, you know, you are honest and sincere and sort of tell it like it is. And I just appreciate that so much. So I kind of wanted to do like a different little show. So for this episode, I wanted to sort of take a look behind the industry that we are always talking about. You are a beauty professional, an excellent correspondent. You know everything that there is to know about every product that there is. And I just wanted to take a look behind all of that today and sort of talk about the beauty industry as a whole and sort of, you know, our place in it, and really talk about finding joy in this industry that, you know, sometimes isn't, you know, it's hard sometimes to find.
It's hard
joy.
within, you know, our professional lives, but I think it's also hard in our personal lives.
100%.
And I think it's really important because people can lose sight, especially in the beauty industry, of the beauty of what we're doing, and transformation and sort of amplifying who someone is inside is like core and centered to the passion, I think, behind all of the professionals that are drawn to our industry. But that connects to a human spirit, and we can't forget the person behind all those products. And so that's been my mission, regardless of the corner I've, you know, kind of sat in the beauty industry, whether it was, you know, curating products for an audience that isn't familiar with, you know, beauty as much as professional friends have been, or working behind the scenes to develop products. It's really important to remember, whether you're somebody touching another person's face or developing a line or reporting on it, at the end of the day, it's about that connection and really putting that person back in the center of purpose. So, you know, how is this going to really benefit someone? How will this express who we are as either a brand or a makeup artist or that person, is your job to help amplify their personal brand as it's come to be known, but just who they are, their vibe. I've always felt like, what is that? What's the je ne sais quoi? It's the impression you leave behind. And so for me, this topic of joy is something that's really kind of been a navigation through my professional career. It's really always remembering what's underneath the makeup and what's under the dress, and how those are just tools. Our beauty bags and are just ways to sort of help express a bigger ideal or picture. And, joy was inspired by, of course, we all have to find a way to make a living. And my favorite thing to do is to really find partnerships that speak to a bigger purpose. And I was excited that a big iconic brand like Russell Stover, and I'm going to date us here.
Okay.
Can you believe that Russell Stover is almost 100 years old? Not that we've been around that long, but I thought, oh my
luckily
gosh.
Luckily we weren't there to see the beginning, but I've certainly grown up with it my whole life, and it was always my favorite go-to for sure.
Well, I'm not sure if the TikTok kids really remember the boxes of chocolate. They probably don't understand Forrest Gump when it's like a box of chocolates. They're like, what is that? But anyways,
so good.
This iconic company who's been around forever, I'm so proud to say, is launching a new collection for the first time ever. It's a no sugar added collection of, this is up our alley. So this is also a job that I'm very excited about. Chocolate filled and some non-filled bars that are made from plant-based stevia, and all of those ingredients that I would have been interested in right away. Like, crafted with select organic and non-GMO ingredients, fair trade cocoa, etc. So for all the healthy people out there interested, yes. My favorite flavor is dark chocolate caramel sea salt.
Okay, that's it.
That's no brainer.
Yes,
and it's for me, it's perfect because they break off into bite-sized pieces, but I digress because yes, chocolate is beautiful. But the bigger point in this, and it's also something that I've really been passionate about when it comes to my partnerships, even in beauty, they have this opportunity to make a bigger footprint. And they asked me and some others, when we partnered and teamed up to come up with the ideas, what is joy? How do we, for me, it was how do we spread that? So it was identifying that and making sure that, we could figure out how to remind people that the simple things like take time to smell the flowers, but to eat the chocolate. Yes. We often don't put ourselves on our to-do list, especially as professionals in a beauty industry where how many times do you see somebody on set who is a phenomenal makeup artist and they're in all black, a ponytail, and they're like, I didn't have time. I didn't have time.
Yes.
I have been.
Yes, you're so right.
So guilty of that, where
100%.
I'm surrounded by gorgeous models and this beautiful setup on a table I'm going to shoot. And all of a sudden I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've put myself last. And I realized that it's important sometimes to schedule me, make sure I'm on the calendar. So.
And I love talking about that with you too, because I'm a big proponent, and you are too, of not demonizing beauty. And, people completely, I grew up, in a world that judged I was a cheerleader. They judged that. They didn't know that, like, also I memorized Shakespeare, you know what I mean? And like, I was a total nerd on the side and under the table. But like, I did take that time, and there's nothing wrong with that. And, it's just, it's how some people express themselves, and it's what makes them feel, good about conquering the day. So I love talking about that with you because I think it's so misunderstood.
Yeah. It's like the word fashionista became almost,
yes,
what's the word? Not kryptonite, but like, how do we say that?
Toxic
yeah. Well, the word fashionista evolved to have such a negative connotation. And I also just remember moments like sitting in the Today Show green room years ago when to my left was former President Carter. To my right was Matt Lauer. And, very innocently, Matt says, "So what's your fluff today?" And he's looking in the mirror, adjusting his tie. And President Carter was having his makeup applied, and they were asking him which was his good side. And so it was interesting because I looked at Matt and I said, this, like,
Yeah.
impressions matter.
Yes.
And before he even looks at his script and sits down, he is paying attention to what he's saying without saying anything.
Yes.
Does he look responsible and trustworthy in his tie? Is it adjusted
Right.
straight? Is it not distracting? Does a former president have a good side and the right powder applied? I mean,
Yes.
you can't separate the outside from the inside. It's a complete package, and it can go the wrong way if you think about only the packaging and the product inside is crap. I mean, we've all picked up this like gorgeous bottle or compact of something and thought, oh, it doesn't pay off. Not
Yes.
micronized, yada, yada. I mean, I can give you a million analogies, right?
Of course,
Or
of course.
you say to somebody, oh my gosh, it's at the drugstore. I know it looks like bottom barrel, but it's the best foundation and I use it all day long on set, right?
Yep.
So the holy grail is when you get a really beautiful product that's been thoughtfully packaged and it just is harmonious. Like the branding really sings true to what's on the inside. And that's sort of like Heroville, if you think about it. Charlotte Tilbury, so Charlotte Tilbury. I mean, from the ethos of who she is on set and her red hair and how she presents herself and the look that she stayed true to and her clients to the packaging, the font, the gorgeous shades. Even she doesn't veer and try to go punk or anything else. She's just so signature. And we could say the same about other hero brands that I think about, even Fenty with Rihanna. I think
is that what
for us
hero product means? Like when people
actually no.
I was curious because of course everybody always says send me hero products, and I was always curious where that term came from.
I am using that term almost as an analogy for what I just said, but a hero product is when someone like Kate Somerville, who was the celebrity esthetician, had a spa in Los Angeles and was concocting. Yes, it was used to. And by the way, fun fact, I knew Kate back when she had a little lab in the back of her spa, and she would mix together, hand mix Kate in a jar. And that's what she called it. And Kate in a jar is now called Exfoliate to millions and millions of people. And it's her famous 2-minute scrub. And as you can tell, the way we're speaking about it, almost everybody knows what it is. But Exfoliate really originated, it's her hero product. And a lot of times what happens is something emerges out of just really organic means, and then a collection is built around it to support it.
Okay. Like an anchor.
Yes. And that doesn't mean the other products aren't worthy. It sometimes is a great supporting act. So if she's like, wow, this scrub that everybody's obsessed with works really well, here's a really great compliment for your cleanser. And here's a really great compliment for your moisturizer. But then again, it's also when you go into a store, buyers are trying to really determine, okay, the hero product is really what's grabbing somebody in and luring them into a collection versus other products. And, a lot of makeup artists who are interested in putting products out, I would love to share all this knowledge. What is your hero product? What's your signature? There are certain artists that were famous for their highlighter. That is one of the things they were known for, is their glow girls, how they got that pop on the cheek, whether it was sort of like a jelly base or a powder base. I mean, we could name a bunch of people who really went there, or Anastasia with her eyebrows. It's really smart to think about what is your signature in a lot of ways. Who are you? What are you filling? What hole are you filling? What do you feel like you have to offer? And then complement around that, rather than worry about, do I have a complete collection? Sometimes I think it's more effective if you have that one thing.
I love this advice as a metaphor for life. Like this is all like this is really something that I've been thinking about. We've had so much reflection. My God, I'm sick of it. I don't want to reflect for another day. But, sort of thinking of yourself as like a hero product, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
like, this is my thing and this is what I know. And then sort of attracting everything that goes with it and then navigating your life that way. That's really, really, really interesting. Yeah.
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 I mean, there are some people I am obsessed with. They're all about their red lip. And it's
Oh,
funny,
yes.
there are a few friends in my mind that they're just vivacious and bold and unfiltered, and they say it like it is. And I love that they wear this like bold lip.
Yes.
Other people are, introverts and just really sort of contemplative, and they have a great signature pair of eyewear, and it's funny how people can really amplify a trait or a characteristic. But again, you're right. These analogies, and like when you think of, it's just marketing 101, whether you market yourself, you market your product, or you figure out in your own life how you market to yourself joy.
Yes.
You really have to, for me, beauty is such a bigger topic. It's really hard sometimes when people think, it's what I wrote my book about, style. They'll think, oh, it's fashion and beauty. It's like, meh, it's like superficial stuff. And really, when you think about a former president and at the time, a number one news anchor, it's not just fluff. It's not just surface. It is your packaging. It's the expression of who you are at the core. And I don't really care what you want to say, but if you don't say something, if you don't actively participate in the message you're sending, people are going to read something. So why not control your message? And that's the thing.
I love it because, you and I work closely on Power of Style, which everybody should have. And I was always, that I was always intimidated by style. I was like, I'll spend all day on my face, but when it comes to clothes or like an expression of my body, I was like, okay, look over somewhere else. Everybody look somewhere else. I just wear this, the same two things all the time. And what your book talks about is just knowing that you can have power in the messaging that you're giving through fashion. And it doesn't need to be like fashion. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
look, we're all guilty of being busy and tired and not wanting to put energy into car pickup or running to the grocery store to get milk. But funny enough, you're saying something. You're like, I'm off duty. I'm off duty. I didn't really invest in the way I look because I'm not really interested in a big conversation and I'm running an errand. So I'm on a mission. And yes, there are people who look chic 24/7, but I have to say, when I see somebody at the grocery store who is head to toe styled with designer labels, it also screams something else to me, like, oh, like what else was going on that you weren't super confident about, that you had to like,
that's interesting.
Put this armor on? Because I do think being overstyled or feeling like you have to walk around and be a billboard for other designers, my favorite thing to witness is someone who really has curated and picked all the things out in the universe, who describes who they are. I mean, anybody can wear Gucci head to toe, or anybody can put on a Pat McGrath face, right? But it's always that interesting person who does something completely unexpected. Like they wear the Wet n Wild lip gloss with some like amazing clean eye from whomever. And it's just, that's what art and expression is all about. And no one ever stood out in the flock. So, we're all worried so much about how to fit in. And especially in beauty, you're so worried that you're up on the latest quote trends and, your portfolio looks the way you want the potential, like people casting to pick, because you want to know you want them to know you can do these like all current looks.
Right.
But at the same time, where are you? I mean, sure, show them your range, but you also should be bold and find out how to stand out. And we need the confidence to do that. And I think that's what really separates people who feel like they are forced to be bridal and they just feel like this is where my bread and butter is. I need to go there. And then they get down that track. And sometimes they need to pull themselves out and say, yes, that's great. This is a job. But if my passion is to pursue this, put together an editorial, portfolio, blend it somewhere, or experiment with those brides who might want more than just that, because I think you will attract what you seek. There are brides out there who don't want, the full Kim K face and, the sort of ringlets, that might want the sort of cool graphic eyeliner for her wedding. And, if that's what you're into, go for it.
Yes.
There's so many things to be gleaned from being yourself,
Yes.
Whether it's professionally, personally, even your love life, your friends, what we wear and how we present ourselves, especially with, makeup and hair. You're really advertising to get the friends you want, the love you want, the job you want. And so whether you're a professional helping somebody else to create that message, or yourself, I think so many of us in the beauty industry, we don't practice what we preach. And I'm super guilty of that. I'm telling you all of this, and Tiffany, you need to send me this video back another day, because I can't sit here and be dishonest and tell you I haven't had, my ruts of just being overwhelmed and talking to you about how sometimes beauty can feel oversaturated, sending the wrong message. When we were in such a heavy place of contouring everything and people trying to sort of achieve brighter skin, skinnier noses, bigger lips, and just all these filters that are out there. I'm so torn, because I do want to support this aesthetic ideal. And I love beauty. I love being able to play around and transform. I mean, I think it's Kevin Aquan, one of our favorites, as you know, the idea of transformation and having that magical moment to sort of shift or morph. But for you to rely on that, and for us as a society to be really, I think, impacting what young girls think, we need a balance. And it's important for us all to really realize that.
I like what you're saying about for us to rely on that, like that's where it gets scary, where you're, because, in this past year, and yours especially, has been terrible loss you've experienced and been through personally. And for you to know who you are must have given you some solace, because, you weren't able to sort of mask yourself and armor yourself. Or how did you feel about, what was your relationship like with that must have been so gut-wrenching for you, with all that you were faced with.
Yeah, I think
how do you go, I'll feel better if I get dressed, or
honestly, for those who don't know, I lost my husband about 7 months ago. Yes. I don't think I was able to think much. And for me, in the way that I processed my grief, I wasn't aware of the external in many ways. Myself, what was around me. I was so inward and struggling to figure out this new piece of me and how to hang on to what was happening in my mind. You really, you can't explain to others, because everybody grieves their own way. So even someone who has unfortunately shared an overlap in experience, it's so unique. I really shied away from what I thought about in terms of makeup or fashion. I mean, I wore the same I had like 3 t-shirts and 2 pairs of jeans, and I gladly picked up the day that he passed and went with my in-laws to just nest and hide under their wing. And I didn't care. I mean, because I was really trying to work on the inside and figure out how to heal. And I have to tell you, even today, like putting myself together, it was fun. It was joyful. And I think that we don't have to demonize beauty and getting dressed, but I can't imagine even right now how I feel. I just said this to my mother-in-law like the day before yesterday. I have all these beautiful dresses that I love, and I stare at this closet, but I'm not feeling that right now. And I think that it would be such a disconnect for someone to see me running to pick my son up at camp in some, gorgeous dress, hair and makeup fully made, knowing that I'm being really honest about how heartbroken I am and how I'm still searching for what this new part of me looks like.
Mm.
I just think it's, like I was saying before, you have to find harmony in and out. And and it's okay. I'm not trying. And I think that's what I want younger girls and not just younger girls, by the way, all of us, we need to be reminded, we need to tell each other, it's okay not to be perfect. And sometimes imperfect is perfect. And to be able to be honest with who you are and not worry that you've covered the blemish or you look, like you haven't eaten healthy for 6 months. I mean, vice versa, whether you've gained weight or lost weight through the pandemic. I mean, all of us were really showing on the outside what was happening on the inside. We're connected, we're humans. You cannot separate what's happening in your head and your heart from what you look like on the outside. I mean, it would be so unhealthy for someone to look so pulled together and be so confused. I mean, they always say that too about your home, clutter and this and that in your office, which I'm a big, like, that's an area. It's kind of the method to my madness though. When I work, I'm all over the place. I'm not somebody who's super organized and has lists, but that's me. And I think that's what's important is you can't listen to anything you and I are talking about and feel bad about, oh, I don't do that or I do this. The idea is to be inspired to be yourself. And I think that's really where joy intersects life, is when you truly feel, I don't know, just connected and intrinsically, you just kind of find that you're exactly where you should be, doing what you should be, feeling how you should be, and really honoring who you are and taking that time, you'll find that spark of joy. And that's why I think like it was so genius to partner with Russell Stover's Joy Bites, because I know for me, I'm obsessed with chocolate. I mean, who doesn't love chocolate? Chocolate and it sounds like such, as the kids say, basic bitch, but chocolate and champagne, bubbles and chocolate.
There's a reason that it works.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's something that I found. I inspired myself in putting together a lot of this material for the campaign. The idea that, we have to treat ourselves purposefully. We need to say yes to us. We need to change the dialogue in our head so that it's yes to having a chocolate break. And I think that's a healthy example for our children, especially when it's a product that you can support and believe in. I think it's really important these big companies are taking steps in the right direction to be eco-friendly and sustainable, and they're sourcing good ingredients. We need to show them with our dollars that this is the direction we want them to go. And so for me, I feel responsible to be super transparent about, yes, I'm partnering with Russell Stover on a chocolate brand. And it may seem completely outside of my purview, but it's so intrinsically connected to the idea that these bigger brands that consume our dollars can also give back to us in a bigger, more positive way. And I think that's what is also cool about whoever might be watching in the beauty industry. Think outside the box. You can find partnerships and work, and there's so much to do and collaborate with completely unexpected, brands.
Right.
There are so many brands that might love an idea that you come up with. You might use something every day and say, gosh, I wish Home Depot knew how much I loved this blank tool because I actually use it on set. I mean, what a riot. Call the brand, call Home Depot, tell them that you use this sponge meant for redecorating or plants or walls, and show them, your interest. Today with TikTok and Instagram and all of these mediums,
anything's
you actually
possible.
Have access to sharing these hacks, but also think about positioning yourself to work with them. It's my favorite thing to want to share. I love sharing. And I also love sort of trying to not sell. It's so funny. I can think of my late husband always be like, oh my gosh, you don't have to sell me on that. But I get so excited about inspiring someone to like really go for it. Try it. Who knows? I mean, you
are the ultimate cheerleader. Like I always feel every time that I talk to you that I could do anything, and that's what I love about you. So one of the things that I love about you.
Well, we can do anything. We just need the right cheerleaders to give us that confidence. I'm the same way, it's what I'm deeply grieving. My husband made me feel like I could do anything. And I think you need to find those people in your life and find those people who spark joy, and you will be surprised at what you do. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? No, we don't want an entirely new audience in the beauty realm to pick up our products at Home Depot. I mean, come on. I mean, it may not be Home Depot. You might find
No, I know
yourself
what you mean. Yeah.
but if it's at a children's store and you found some amazing barrette that works better on set than the adult version, I mean, collaborate, get out there, say something. There's enough for all of us. I also think that in beauty, competition is another really yucky word.
I was going to ask you about that.
Look, it's healthy to be motivated to do your best and to have colleagues that inspire you. And you think, gosh, she's amazing. I want to be like her. But just like we talked about beauty not being dependent on it, when it comes to competition, there's a dark side of it where all of us in general have seen the very dark side of competition with beauty and how we really don't want that to be the ripple effect from a profession that so many professionals really cherish. But at the same time, it's like, if somebody that you know and you're friends with, or you don't know and is doing something amazing, it's okay to support them and cheer them on, and to know that what's right for you is there too. Because if more people support each other, there are more opportunities for us all. For people to actually like talk negatively or to put that out there, that doesn't reflect well on you. And I do think it's a slippery slope when we're talking about our art, because this is an industry that's personal, because it is beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And because it's subjective, and because it's an extension of who we are as professionals, but it also impacts somebody personally, there's a lot of room for muck. And if you focus on supporting and lifting others up, I promise you it comes back. I have never found a moment where I supported somebody, even like, I mean, a very direct, what somebody would say is competitor. It's always been wonderful. I've ended up, it kind of feels weird sometimes, because you can feel like, gosh, it's like when you think the grass is greener, it's time to water your own. And in that moment,
I love that. Wait, why have I never heard that?
Oh, this is like the quote I live by, because I have had plenty of moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, her grass is so beautiful. It's like gorgeous. It's manicured. But then I realized, like, well, have I been tending to this? Have I done this? I used to talk about this with like a physical analogy. A lot of girls would look at someone else and be like, oh, look at her. Look at Becky. Her butt is just so perfect and blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, have you been to the gym? What are you eating?
Right.
And when you are working on yourself and you're so exhausted from the effort you've put in, it's weirdly euphoric, because you look across and you're like, yes, awesome. I get it. Because you're also investing in you, and you can recognize that in somebody else. And I think that's why you see a lot of successful people in the beauty industry often championing each other, because they get it. They're comfortable supporting the other person because they know who they are. They have their solid ground. It's often people who are insecure.
That is such a great point. It just was a huge light bulb for me. When you look at yourself and when you work on yourself, you can see how hard it is to do what that other person that you're jealous of is doing. That's amazing. Yeah. I love that. How are you?
I don't know. That's really, really important. And I know oftentimes it gets put in the category of being a girl's girl. I think it's being human. Kindness is something we can all afford to give, but more importantly, we can all afford to accept it. I think a lot of people sometimes may think that they are kind and this and that, but I don't think sometimes we understand how to embrace kindness. And it goes a long way. You don't need to be fancy, famous, or rich to be nice. And that there's nothing more stylish than somebody who leaves you feeling good about yourself. So when you're worried about being the coolest person in the room or the most successful, I would argue that whoever leaves that room and left people feeling awesome about their interaction or presence, that's success. And I've been in the presence of many people who I was so underwhelmed by, and others who just were so just inspiring because they left me feeling like I could do anything. And I just love that. So
That's
food for
really
thought.
beautiful. I love the idea of kindness being classy and stylish. I love that. Because a lot of people think it's
Yeah.
the other way. It's like some 80s mentality left over, sassy and mean is what gets
Okay,
you.
Tiffany, let's face it. The minute you say two words on set, let's just let people go ahead. First of all, you've got the like bitchiness central. You might as well call it that. You walk backstage, and because the people who aren't in front of the camera want to feel better about themselves, they immediately think they need to be dark and dramatic and
Yeah.
pulling something into the room. It's hysterical. I don't know what, I could be at a news program. I could be at a sports set. I could be at a fashion show shoot. And let me tell you, everybody says, we really need a camera of the glam squad, the room, because there's always more drama happening in there. And you have to ask yourself, why? And it's,
Yeah.
I know people come to you and this podcast because you're a true beauty veteran. You know so much behind and in front of the camera. And for any of our friends watching, really think about if you want to see the profession you're in lifted and seen better and have better vibes associated with it. Think about the environment you
Wow.
create either on set or when you visit a client in a hotel room or on their wedding day, at church, wherever you are, putting forth an environment that's welcoming, inclusive, loving, smiling. I mean, I know it's like a big idea.
No,
but
it's revolutionary.
even
Why is it revolutionary? Yeah.
even Victoria Beckham has gotten on board because did you hear this? This was one of my favorite things. She's like, well, back in the day, we only had photos, they were stills. And with all the videos today, like she can't just sit there with a mug. But it is kind of hilarious
I
that
love it.
smiling is really, to some extent, was considered tacky or
Oh yeah.
junior on
Oh
set.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But I just think that that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
And I think it would behoove the whole industry to find a kinder, truly beautiful place, because that is where other people will see that the profession has a place and a purpose. And I've never, even when a lot of people who may not know my background, I did not start at a magazine or under an Anna Wintour. I actually was a rape crisis counselor and got my degree in psychology and worked at a hospital in overnight shifts. And one of the bigger things that I feel like helped shape my entire future without knowing it at the time was understanding that even a survivor of sexual assault needed to understand she was worthy of lipstick, because we would hand them these overnight bags when they left and people would look at me strangely, like fresh clothes, toiletries, but why makeup? And it's like, because you deserve that. You're worthy of that. And it's so powerful when you think about it, beauty. It really can transform. And everybody who wants to poo-poo it as this superficial layer needs to check that the world goes round based on the advertisements, the marketing, the visuals, the people that are powerful, and why they chase money and power. It's because ultimately they want to attract, the sexy, beautiful partner or lifestyle. I mean, beauty is power. And how we define that can be anything. That can be anything. Beauty can be kind. It doesn't have to be cutthroat and, elitist and all the other images that you might think of.
And it can be
and
any color and any size and have flaws. And yes, it's how you define it. And how are you finding joy these days? With miles and chocolates?
Yeah.
Snuggles.
I have to say, in some ways, going through a challenge, and this one in particular being probably the hardest I've ever been through, it's pretty simple. It kind of forced me to start with the basics. And so in some ways it's been easier to find joy because there isn't much. And I don't, I'm not excited about a lot of things that I used to be excited about, like eating a decadent meal or going somewhere.
Invites and
You know where my moment of joy the last few days? I picked up my son at camp, who's 5, turning 6, and he's, definitely going through the like slight detachment where, I told him in the morning before I dropped him off, I love you. And he's like, Mom, don't tell me what I already know. And I withered inside, but I
Of
thought,
course.
Okay. And then he got into the car afterwards and I picked him up and I said, so, I know he was a little moody and tired. He didn't want to tell me what was going on, but I said, well, what's your favorite thing that happened today? And he said, Mom, I don't have a favorite. Everything is fun. And I found so much joy in just being able to witness how happy he was. He was so happy. And I feel like we're so hard on ourselves as parents that for me to think, oh my gosh, I did something right. He's happy. He's having fun. I didn't even have to be directly involved. I just got him there.
I'm so happy that we talked today. And I just love talking to you anyway, regardless. But this has been a wonderful excuse to share some of your amazing thoughts with the world that's watching, because I think so much of what you have to say is, when I hear it, and it resonates so much with me, and I know it will resonate with so many other people. And you inspire me so much, Bobbie, and your strength.
I'm lucky to have friends like you. I mean, yes. And I will shamelessly tell everybody, please look. It's so important for us to support brands that are supporting us. So
where can we find Joy Bites?
I believe it is at grocery stores, but you can go to russellstover.com/joybites. Find me on social. I promise you it's delish. It's early, so that's why I'm not already eating one of them. But yes, take time to find the joy.
Wonderful. Thanks, Bobbie.
Thank you so much for hanging out with Bobbie and I. I really hope you enjoyed our conversation and it helped you in some way. By all means, reach out to Bobbie with any questions. She's always that girl who is there. And she's happy to engage and talk about any of the stuff that we covered in our conversation. And next week, I'm going to be coming to you with another episode, and my guest is going to be Troy Jensen. So he has got some stories to tell. So tune in next week to hear lots more. Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Nicole Tucker, with art design by Kelly Riley. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.